Thank you, Father, for all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, I'm excited for this week for us. I have been in conversations and getting to know Joe Wilkey, who's going to be speaking to us this morning and throughout this week for basically this last school year. And I think this is an important topic that he's going to bring to us. It's one that Jesus thought was so important that he put into the Sermon on the Mountain. Talking about sexuality and how it's a heart issue, how it's a life issue, and I'm excited for Joe to present to us and describe some of the things that he's going to, and present maybe even some solutions for us. Such a prevalent issue inside of not just the world that we're in, but inside of the church. And I think that maybe sometimes we don't realize how in our face sexuality is, the sexuality that is coming from the world and invading who we are. And so I think it's an important topic. Let me just read you Joe's quick bio, and then I don't want to take up too much time, so as to let him come up and do his thing this morning. Joe Wilkey is a professional counselor and outpatient therapist in the Denver, Colorado area for the last 5 years. Joe has specialized in sexual addiction therapy in his private practice. He has recently joined the staff of a treatment program that offers 2-week intensive for sex addicts. On a personal note, Joe and his wife Alyssa and his 2 sons, Harrison and Lachlan, thank you, will be moving to the Nashville area in August to continue his work with the Nashville branch of Sexual Addiction Treatment Facility and to take the role as of minister for the Jackson Temple Church of Christ. So, without further ado, come on up here and preach the word, brother. All right, I can already tell that this Britney Spears mic is going to be causing me issues. Getting it ready to present to the public, and so I'm just going to tell you a little bit, make sure it's working, about who I am. I think you already had that up there. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am, why I'm here. Yes, I work in this field. Yes, I'm a therapist. I specialize in sex addiction, but how did that come about? We have to rewind the clock, basically my entire life. Grew up in the church, of course, Church of Christ my entire life. Dad was an elder at Bear Valley for a number of years. I'm the youngest of 4. My 3 older siblings went through the Bear Valley program. I would eventually follow, but, baptized around the age of 10. At 12, I remember being in my cousin's room, and he had a picture, my cousin in Tennessee, who was not a Christian, and he had a big poster of a woman in a bikini. And I remember finding myself sneaking into his room at times to look at it because it just felt really good. It was taboo. I knew I wasn't supposed to. I knew I had been trained better, but it just felt really good. So I come home. We have computers upstairs. My parents really, at this age, they're thinking, well, 12, that doesn't happen for a long time. Of course, I get into porn online. I'm scared to death to tell my parents about this, so I eventually end up telling my sister, who then encourages me to eventually tell my mom and dad, and they set up accountability software on the school computer. End of story, right? Wrong. Of course, it's a hamster wheel, so I'd seek ways to get around it. I'd get busted. I'd feel terrible. I'd feel sorry. Say sorry a bunch, right? I'd feel very much shameful, guilty and shameful. I'd engage in white-knuckle change, which is, I'm never going to do it again. I promise you, I'm never going to do it again until your knuckles turn white, right? You'd start feeling the urge to try again. We start over and over and over and over. When I get my own phone, my own computer, of course the problem gets worse. I go into deeper, darker depression. Around the time I start Bear Valley, I'm half suicidal. It was very, very bad where I was. But I started Bear Valley, so I think this is going to fix it. I'm going to be in the Word of God every single day.
how could this not fix the problem? I mean, now that I'm surrounded by brothers and sisters who care about me and who love me and who love the Word of God, and I'm going to study all the time, how amazing is this? The problem got even worse. Why? Well, of course, the triggers: stress, long nights, staying up till midnight working on a midterm for the next day or whatever it may be, studying for that. You act out, you act out, you act out. The depression, the shame, everything else, you go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. Till the end of Bear Valley, I finally is like, you know what, I'm going to tell somebody. And I opened up to a guy who, I don't know if anybody knows Chris Croats, opened up to Chris Croats, and he also shared with me that he struggled with it. And I thought, what are the odds? Because I did not know the statistics, and I did not know how this worked. And I thought, what are the odds that I open up to a guy who struggles with it and who's willing to be my accountability partner? And so us and two other guys started an accountability group, and we started down the path of sobriety. And this is when I realized I really want to help others. So I start the Masters. 2 years after Bear Valley, I had quit porn. But the sex addiction did not stop. I slept with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and I realized along the way I had quit porn and I thought I was free from sexual sin, and she became my porn. The sex addiction hadn't gotten out of the heart. I had just changed what I was looking at. And this caused me to reconsider everything. And it also caused me to truly submit myself, humble myself, and put my sobriety in God's hands and start from the bottom up. I hit rock bottom. I truly was suicidal at that point because I thought I had kicked this. And of course, when my family and her family found out, pillars in the church, right? That's not supposed to happen. So I rethought everything. I used to pray that God would take this away over and over and over and over. Please, God, take it away. If I've prayed that one time, I've prayed it 1,000 times. Probably more than that, to be honest. I mean, this went on for close to a decade. And he just didn't magically come in and take it away. Why? I realized later, God was working in my life. He wasn't going to take it away because I wasn't willing to do whatever it took to get rid of it. So I remained frustrated. I felt like God wasn't listening. But God allowed my porn addiction to teach me a ton of lessons, and some of those lessons are why I'm here and what I hope to teach you today. And so I want to look at the outline of the seminar real fast. So what we're going to do is we're first going to start with understanding it, right? We have to understand, this is what today is about. We have to understand the problem. We have to understand the pervasiveness of the problem, because I don't want anybody walking out of here like I was thinking, wow, there's somebody like me? There's a lot out there. Second is the toll. We're going to look at the toll brief tomorrow. Tomorrow may run a little long, so I'm apologizing in advance. So we have physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. That's the toll that it takes on the body. And I take that as I'll explain it tomorrow in my intimacy pyramid. We're going to look at the toll that it takes on each of those things in our lives. Third, the heart of it. What's really at the heart of it? A lot of people want to skip to the behavioral approach. Well, let's just deal with the behavior, deal with the behavior, deal with the behavior. But they never really understand the heart of it. What's really underneath that? Fourth is the cure. That's where we're going to get into what can the addict do? What can the spouse do? I think I have the church. I have like 5. I had to cut this down a little bit, so 2 of them got cut out. But we're going to look at how we can get out of porn, what the cure is, and again, how the spouse can help as well, and how we can handle that situation. And fifth is defeating it. Well, isn't that the cure? No. The cure gets us out of it, but we, at some point, have to switch from defense and go on to offense. We have to stop defending ourselves against porn and like, the boulder's going to get me, the Indiana Jones, right? The boulder's going to get me and I'm running for my life. We could either do that, or, we can look ahead. We could do chariots of fire and run toward something, run toward a goal. That's defeating it. I don't want to keep running from porn for the rest of my life. I want to run to something. So, our purpose here, what are we trying to do? These next few days, and through Friday, the purpose really is I want us to see sex through God's eyes. To see sex and its purpose through God's eyes. What is that? The pinnacle of intimacy and human connection. So yes, sex exists. We need to get used to talking about that. We need to get used to hearing that. We go, whoa, hold on. Porn, sex, masturbation. We don't want to discuss those things. Those are taboo. We don't say those words. Yes, we do. The world's saying them, and the world's getting 75% of our kids. So we're going to start talking about it. We'll find also that by openly talking about this, and that by trying to seek this purpose, we start to find freedom. We begin to open up and to find freedom here. And so we're going to get into what this is, the pinnacle of intimacy and human connection. Like I said, I'll introduce this idea of the intimacy pyramid, and we'll go from there. A little quick housekeeping before we get into defining terms, just so you're aware. Yes, I speak fast. I know I speak fast. I'm trying to slow it down, so hopefully this is good. But I have a lot to cover. This is usually done in an hour. I have trimmed it down for chapel. So I've cut some slides. Please do not hesitate to ask me. I will give you all my slides. I'll give you all the stuff I got. So let me know if you're going, whoa, I didn't get that, or I'm trying to take notes and you went by. Come talk to me after for the slides. I'd be happy to give it to you. Second thing is I have a ton of information specifically in this lesson that does not have citations. I have citations for everything that's cited in here, so please don't think that I just made these up or went to Wikipedia. I do have citations for each thing, and I also have a list of that if you're interested in where I get all my information. Let's get into defining terms. Pornography is any form of media intended to be sexually arousing. That's how I take it. So this could be, really it could be books, erotica. This could be Instagram. This could be, obviously, the pornographic sites. Anything that is intended to sexually arouse. Addiction, oh, hit it too soon. Can I go back on that? Sorry, I don't even know how to go back on this. Is it the red button? Sweet, thank you. Addiction is a compulsive, chronic, physiological or psychological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical, psychological, or social effects, typically causing well-defined symptoms such as anxiety, irritability, tremors, or nausea upon withdrawal or abstinence. You go, well, is this really an addiction? The world would like you to believe this is not an addiction. There's a great book called Your Brain on Porn, very much shows this is an addiction. This is absolutely an addiction. Addiction, the markers of addiction, increase in pornography use over time, increase in the intensity of the pornography used. We'll get into this when we show how it affects the brain tomorrow. And an inability to easily stop pornography use despite negative consequences. So those are the three markers there. Increase in use over time, increase in intensity, inability to stop despite negative consequences. I can tell you this from personal experience, but also from a ton of data out there and a lot of scientists that are studying this. I was reading an article just last night. These things happen. Pornography addiction is very real, and withdrawal symptoms are also very real. You don't think about that too much. It is not the same as heroin, meth, alcohol, where you have, you could potentially die from it, but there are withdrawal symptoms from this. Last is an epidemic, a rapidly growing, prevalent, and widespread disease. Now that we're all familiar with pandemic, I probably should have called this the silent pandemic, because it is worldwide, and at the time it's like, epidemic sounds good, and now it's like, well, the difference, I suppose, since pandemic has now come into everybody's collective consciousness, may have been the better word. Either way, what this shows is it's rapidly growing, it's pervasive. With the rise of the internet, with the rise of smartphones and everything else, this has been rapidly growing. Okay, we're going to get into some stats. We have to understand the problem. So we're going to look at some general statistics, some worldly statistics, some Christian statistics to understand. Can everybody see? Sweet. I put this on so I could get out of the way just in case, but we're looking good. So some general statistics. This might be a little small. Around 12% of all web pages are pornographic. The average age of first exposure, and I'm actually going to step down to the side and read it from here. A little small in my writing. Average age of first exposure to porn is now 11 years old. As many as 93.2% of boys, 62.1% of girls will first view porn before 18 years of age. To be honest, I think those numbers are low. Working in this, I don't ever come across somebody who has not already come across it, really by the age of 15. The porn industry's annual revenue is more, sorry. Thank you. Sorry, I thought I pressed it. The porn industry's annual revenue is more than the NFL, NBA, and MLB combined. It is also more than the combined revenues of ABC, CBS, and NBC. This is multi-billion-dollar industry. Hollywood produces around 400 feature films a year. Porn industry produces around 11,000. 25% of search engine requests are related to sex, so a quarter of them. 35% of downloads from the internet are pornographic. As of July 2003, there were 260 million pages of porn online. an increase of 1,800% since 1998. By the end of 2004, there were 420 million. I tried to find updated statistics. This is 2004, so you can imagine. Couldn't really find updated statistics there. Only 50% of adults over 25 years of age believe viewing porn is wrong. Only 1 in 3 teens and young adults believe it is. And last but not least, teens and young adults rank not recycling as more immoral than viewing porn. This is done by Covenant Eyes and Barna got together and did research. It is fantastic. Their amount of research is they did a great job, but it's also depressing. It is not fun reading when you're realizing these things. So those are some general statistics. Let's look at some worldly statistics here. Around 1 in 3 Americans seek it out at least once a month. That's over 100 million people. 51% of all Americans seek out porn at least occasionally. 11% of American males view porn every day. Nearly 60% of college students admit to seeking it out once a week. 72% of non-practicing Christian males, aged 13 to 24, engage in frequent porn use. 33% of women watch pornographic videos or view explicit photos at least one time per week. That is a shocking one for a lot of people because they go, this is a male problem. What we are realizing in the industry and in therapy is more and more women are coming to us saying, this is a problem. And we go, hold on a second, isn't that supposed to be guys? The guys are the visually stimulated ones. What's going on with the women? More and more are getting this way, and I believe it's due to the sexualization of the culture. And I also think that it's rooted in the same thing as we'll get into in the third one, the heart of it. It's rooted in the same heart as with men. 47% of U.S. families report pornography as a problem in their home. Those are the ones that understand and know that pornography is a problem in their home. You can just skyrocket these statistics for those that actually have a problem in their home. 56% of American divorces involve one party having obsessive interest in pornographic websites. 56%. Between 5 to 8% of Americans believe they are addicted to porn. Now you go, hold on. I'm sorry, 72%, and 33%, and 47%, 56%. How is this 5 to 8%? The DSM will not recognize pornography addiction. Therefore, how do you diagnose it? These are people self-diagnosing, saying, I think I'm addicted to porn. I can't stop. 5 to 8% of Americans are saying that. So you're pushing, 10% would be over 30 million. So that's how many people are claiming to be addicted to porn. There is no way, the DSM obviously Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which is where you get borderline personality and everything that we diagnose in our field, they refuse to acknowledge porn addiction. It's terrible. I also have a few more stats to add that I did not add in here just due to space. With the pandemic, with COVID, and the way things have gone, Pornhub's global traffic increased 11% during the COVID lockdown. They were giving free memberships in Italy, France, and Spain. Traffic increased. In Italy, 50% or 57%. In France, 38%. In Spain, 61%. In Mexico, 37% of men and 25.5% of women reported an increase in their porn consumptions during COVID as of May 2020. I have searched for more relevant more timely statistics, things into 2021. We're behind on our research. I can tell you this in the next year, the research that comes out on this is going to be mind-boggling. It is going to be incredibly difficult reading because, again, what happened in the pandemic? Everybody's alone, everybody's depressed, you're bored, and you have nothing to do. It is ripe for porn use. So we say, all right, those are the pervs in the world, but surely it's not this bad in the church. Well, and as we'll see, there are either a lot of perverts in the world, or we misunderstand the problem, right? Let's look at some Christian statistics. 64% of Christian men and 15% of Christian women watch porn at least once a month. Of young Christian males aged 18 to 24 years old, 76% regularly seek out porn. 2014 study, one of the most comprehensive studies in Christendom at the time, found that of young Christians, this is a loose term, yes, we're not talking Church of Christ, but young Christian males aged 18 to 30, a shocking 77% look at porn monthly, 36% look at porn daily. Of those claiming to be born again, those stats dropped to 54% and 14% respectively. So again, if you're more zealous, and they have done statistics, or they've done research and shown that those who go to church a lot, the porn numbers do drop. Do they drop drastically? No. No, they don't. We're still talking 1 out of every 2, and these are for people that are very committed Christians going to church all the time. Same study found that 55% of Christian married men admit to viewing pornography at least once a month, so we're over half there. Many informal surveys in local churches and men's retreats have found a frequent pornography use rate among the men of their congregations of differing ages to be around 50%. I'll get to the end and I'll make a point about the age. 51% of pastors say internet pornography is a possible temptation. Well, possible temptation? Come on. It's either a temptation or it's not. 59% of pastors said that married men seek their help for porn use. 7% of Christian women view porn weekly, and it is trending upward. Barna says 93% of pastors see porn as an increasing problem in their church. Only 7% have a plan to deal with it. This problem is huge. Absolutely huge. To make a quick note about the age, we look at it and we go, well, this is mainly a young man's problem, right? So this is really going to be the teenage, 13 to maybe 30s. By mid-30s, you probably should kick it. I mean, you should be mature enough to get out of it by that time. So the stigma for older men struggling with porn is, I mean, think about how bad it is for guys our age. For older guys struggling with porn, you just don't do it, right? Well, I just got done with the 2-week intensive that was in my bio. We had a guy who was in his 70s, another guy who was pushing 70, in his 60s, and another guy in his 50s. Out of 10 guys that had come to this treatment facility, this 2-week program, 3 out of 10 were over 50 years old. 1 was in his 70s. And 2 of those men were pillars in their church. Pillars in their church. We're not talking like, well, you know, that's the world. No. We're talking like deacons, elders. This is a problem. You say it's a young guy's problem. It's not. I'm telling you, it is not just a young man problem. This is for all over. These statistics also use pastor because these statistics are from Christendom in general. Unfortunately, no major studies have been done in the Church of Christ. I would actually love to work on this and to do a very comprehensive study to better understand what our statistics are in the Church of Christ. But from what I've heard, from what I've run across, from what I've experienced, we match this perfectly. So we cannot fool ourselves in thinking that those in the Church of Christ are better than anybody else. Why? Because we're just as taboo about it as everybody else. So I don't see any reason why our statistics would be better. Make sure I'm not pull up the time here. How did it get so bad? How did it get so bad? Just, you know, we say, holy cow, that's a lot. You know, when you're in the 70s in any statistic, that's not really good. When you're in the 90s in any statistic, that's not really good. How did it get so bad? Porn's easy to access. Very, very easy to access. Porn's available 24/7. Porn is free. Porn is private. Porn is more novel than ever. So you think about this. If you're an alcoholic, at some point you either stock your fridge, you will run out, you have to go out and get it. There is visibility there. You have to be seen walking into a liquor store or walking out of a grocery store or whatever if they sell liquor. If you are obviously any drug addict, you have to risk potentially getting caught, being seen. Anybody got one of these? I mean, anytime you're alone in your bedroom, in the bathroom, it could be a possible temptation. So how did it get so bad? Because porn is all these things. Lastly, porn's more stimulating than ever. And we're going to get into this a little bit more in supernormal stimuli in the next session tomorrow. But it's more stimulating than ever. And the novelty of porn has increased dramatically in the last decade, 2 decades, where anything that you want, you can find. And because of that, it's hijacking our pleasure response, which again we'll get into tomorrow, so I don't want to talk on it too much today, but it's hijacking our pleasure response, and it's causing dopamine to shoot at levels it is not meant to shoot through our brain. Everything else becomes dull compared to pornography because it's supernormal stimuli. So we say, Joe, this problem's terrible. But to be honest, I don't seek porn out online. And can't we just put blockers on the computer? Can't we just, set up some safety nets on our phones and phase this out? We have to realize a simple truth. Sex is all around us. We are not going to escape pornography, whether it's softcore or hardcore, I don't care. We're not going to, if we're going to go back to what pornography is defined as, right, anything that's sexually stimulating. So we look at these movies, of course, Wolf of Wall Street, Hustlers, with about the stripper movie. I am not imagining people have seen those and say, well, yeah, of course we avoid those. Has anybody seen Suicide Squad? Has anybody seen Transformers? Megan Fox leaning over the car, right? I've never seen it, and I know that scene. Suicide Squad with Harley Quinn. I've never seen that either, but how do I know this? If you haven't seen that, have you seen the commercials for them, the trailers? Okay, what about Game of Thrones? So, well, we don't watch Game of Thrones. Okay, does anybody watch The Bachelor? Does anybody watch Survivor? The chicks in bikinis? Does anybody watch Marvel's Jessica Jones? Well, it's Marvel. How could it be bad? Ton of sexual content in Jessica Jones. Anybody play Grand Theft Auto? I hope not. A lot more video games are putting sex in. This was very graphic for the time. People didn't think that they'd actually do this. Grand Theft Auto put it in, and now we're seeing more and more games incorporate that. Anybody read Breaking Dawn, The Last Twilight, that has a sex scene in it? 50 Shades of Grey, one of the fastest selling books of all time. I mean, there are millions and millions and millions and millions of copies. I couldn't understand. You'd see people reading it on the plane, like, what's wrong with you? I don't know. Anybody seen commercials from GoDaddy, Carl's Jr.? Anybody seen those? What about Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, Tumblr, Netflix, TikTok, Tinder, YouTube, iTunes with the music videos? I imagine a few of us have a few of those on our phones. We're inundated, absolutely inundated with this. You cannot get away from sex. You cannot. Sex sells. The world understands sex sells. Guess what they're going to try to do? Sell sex. You can't get away from this. We have to have a plan. And the thing is, we look at this and we go, this is absolutely terrible. Where has the church been with all of this? As the culture is taking over and as the culture is doing this, where has the church been? Silent. Silent. 7%, as you saw, 7% have a plan. 93% say it's a problem, 7% have a plan to deal with it. We've been silent. We have to change that. And in coming and speaking to you today, many of you are going to go out and you're going to preach at congregations. This has to change. You see the problem. You see the pervasiveness of the problem. You see how this is destroying our culture. We're going to see how it affects the body, how it affects our minds, how it affects relationships, how it is destructive in every single way. Fully knowing these statistics. Yes, it's depressing. There is hope. And that's what I'm hoping to give us throughout the rest of this week. We cannot remain silent on this issue. This has to change. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.